Tonight, Stirling North residents outraged over a proposed solar plant just metres from their homes. And cricket in the classroom, the Whyalla School making the summer sport part of the curriculum.
This is Southern Cross News with Fraser Goldsworthy.
Good evening. A solar farm proposed for land just metres from homes in Stirling North has left local residents up in arms. They're concerned about the impacts of radiant heat and dust, but the developer has promised to work towards a solution.
For these Stirling North residents, a solar PV farm 80 metres away is far too close to home. They've told Southern Cross News they're worried about the potential glare, property devaluation, heat and dust. The same company who shook hands on a new solar development in Whyalla last month is assuring their concerns won't fall on deaf ears.
Then, as I said, do a final design and then go to local residents, council and other people and say, look, here's what it should look like. Do you have any issues with that? Unlike
wind farms, solar technology has no environmental or residential restrictions. One family wrote to the Port Augusta Council telling of its concerns of the solar PV farms creating a 3 to 4 degree temperature increase in the area. The company dismissed the claim, saying stripping ground vegetation could be the cause.
So I'm not quite sure where that came from. True, solar panels can get hot. But fundamentally, solar panels are designed to absorb solar radiation.
Addressing concerns of dust in Port Augusta's strong thermal winds, SSC says it plans to keep most vegetation.
We'll only be removing vegetation where we need to put in, for example, some underground cables.
The company says it expects its final development reports by April. Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
A drink driver has been involved in a crash on York Peninsula last night. Police were called to an intersection in Wallaroo around 6 p.m. following reports of a two-car smash. A 46-year-old driver allegedly returned a blood alcohol reading of .099. He was also reported for failing to give way. No one was seriously injured during the ordeal, but the man lost his licence for 6 months and will face court at a later date. Meantime, a man has also lost his licence after allegedly blowing nearly 3 times the legal blood alcohol limit this morning. Just before 3 a.m, Port Lincoln Patrol stopped a car on the Lincoln Highway. Officers say the 32-year-old Cleve man returned a blood alcohol reading of .143. He'll face court at a later date. Police are investigating a deliberate act of damage on a car in Port Pirie. Officers say the blue 2013 Mitsubishi Lancer was damaged at the Centro Shopping Centre on Tuesday. The left front indicator and light housing was smashed in, the front left bumper cracked and the bonnet seriously dented. It's believed the incident happened between 5 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. The Port Augusta Council has reallocated funding to upgrade the local airport's perimeter fence. It follows a recent safety report which highlighted the current fencing isn't animal-proof.
A large animal on the runway could be catastrophic to an aircraft, so the Port Augusta Council is fixing the fence.
We're being proactive. Not reactive, so we want to get it fixed before anything can occur.
A 2016 Civil Aviation Safety Authority report highlighted the fence was not considered animal-proof and could easily be breached by kangaroos. While some of the fence has been repaired, there's still 4 kilometres to go. Council has decided to shift savings to finish the work, this time not touching borrowed cash.
We've actually raised the money that we need to get this job done without actually borrowing any more money, which is what Council's trying to target to do at the moment.
The remainder of the project is set to cost over $90,000, which will be paid for from savings in maintenance and a vacant position. Works are expected to begin within months.
I would hope would commence within the next 2 months and have it completed before the end of the financial year. It just depends on where the contractors are available, when the equipment can be made available.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
After the break on Southern Cross News, funding to acknowledge the hurt from the stolen generation. Details next. Whyalla Council says the main pool at the leisure centre will be reopened in around 2 weeks. It's aiming to reopen to the public on Friday the 23rd of February. Contractors have found a way to bypass a leak that's kept the pool shut since last month. The task was made more difficult by the fact construction plans for the pool, which was built in the 1970s, couldn't be found. All other operations at the leisure centre will continue to run as normal. Lifeline has today welcomed 2 new ambassadors to its dedicated team in Broken Hill. The service says providing suicide prevention and crisis support in regional communities through local voices is critical to its operation.
For Amanda Johnson and Brendan Cullen, battling mental health issues is personal.
And it doesn't matter where you come from, that mental health impacts on anyone.
Both born and bred in the far west, the pair have always been strong advocates for the regional community around them.
It's an exciting time for ambassadors because they can be involved in an organisation like Lifeline and spreading the good work about what Lifeline does in the community.
Amanda suffered from postnatal depression after giving birth to her daughter 24 years ago. She hopes her story can encourage other women to not put too much pressure on themselves.
I speak to a lot of people about my journey through depression and getting healthy, and so often I hear stories back, going down the same road, or somebody's sister or auntie or brother, or depression is huge, and if I can tell my story and it helps, I'm more than happy to.
Brendan is the manager of Cars Station 60k south of town and has had personal struggles with mental health. He says the hardest step is telling someone.
Once you do that, it just gets so much easier, or can get so much easier. But it's about you making that step.
He hopes to combat the stigma associated with men and mental health.
And I just want for people to be able to come up and talk to me. And if I can do anything, by them, or put them in the right direction, point them in the right direction, it's a win-win.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
The next generation of leaders from UniSA have completed a 4-day leadership course in Whyalla this morning. The LEAD program sees 12 students selected through an application process to be mentored towards becoming leaders with UniSA. They'd spent the week at the Whyalla campus learning about values-based leadership, decision-making and communication. Students also visited local schools over the week to encourage them to consider studying at university. Nearly $500,000 will be spent on community projects around the state to recognise the stolen generation. One in Port Lincoln will acknowledge the suffering of Indigenous Australians during that time.
Between the 1900s to late 1960s, it's estimated 1 in 3 Indigenous children were taken from their homes under Australian law.
Rangers would come, pull up, just grab these half-coloured kids or coloured kids and then chuck them in the truck and then take them.
The children, known as the stolen generation, were snatched away from their families and forced into foster homes and institutions.
It wasn't just individuals who were taken from their families, but whole Aboriginal communities that suffered when children were removed in the past.
Today, the impact of what occurred is still felt by those in the Indigenous community. To continue to shed awareness on generations past, the state government has given $400,000 to support Indigenous community projects.
To erect memorials, for signage, to help people find and get in touch with their past.
The funding will be spread across 7 community projects, including Mallee Park, to recognise the stolen generation in Port Lincoln.
It really is a focus point for the Aboriginal community, on the Eyre Peninsula, and to be able to improve signage to help tell stories of families who lived on the Mallee Park Reserve in the past, and some of the stories about stolen generations there, I think will be a really important addition.
The funding is the second round after $1.2 million was provided last year as part of a community reparations fund to help reconcile with the past.
What happened in the past goes a long way to explain where a lot of Aboriginal people are now and what needs to be done in reconciliation in the future.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
After the break, local bank branches get on board to support a Mid-North footballer seriously injured in a footy match. That story next. Aboriginal students are being encouraged to apply for one of 5 scholarships to help cover school costs. The $1 million state government STEM scholarship fund will award 110 high school students funding to pursue science, technology and maths at a SACE level. The scholarships range between $7,500 to $10,000 to cover laptops, tutoring or excursions. Applications for the school funding close in 2 weeks. ANZ branches from across the mid-north and west of the state rallied together today for a young footballer. 27-year-old Ty broke his neck during a rough footy game in the Northern Territory earlier this year and is facing a long rehab journey ahead.
A local lad from Laura taken down within minutes of the first bounce.
An incident with another player bending down to pick up the ball, and he dislocated his vertebrae and damaged his spinal cord. No feeling from his chest down. He can move his shoulders and arms around. He doesn't have movement of his fingers or his legs yet.
27-year-old Ty Martin Page had just been signed to a Northern Territory footy league, playing for the Buffaloes before the tragic accident happened on January 6.
Ty was a game changer. If we needed someone in any position, the coach could always rely on Ty to step into any role and fill the gap that was required.
To see it all come crashing down for him was very upsetting for everyone here locally.
The community rallied together today, sporting a fundraiser to show their support for Ty as he begins rehab in the Royal Adelaide Hospital. ANZ branches from Balaclava across the Yorke Peninsula to Ceduna participated in Ty Day Friday today.
It's not so much about how much we raise, it's about Ty feeling that we all care and that we genuinely are trying to help him through this long journey.
Those wanting to show their support can visit a local ANZ branch.
We will be selling the wristbands, and we've got collection tins and a raffle right throughout the month of February.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
The Port Adelaide Football Club will return to Port Lincoln on Monday for the first time since 2010. The club will host its annual community camp on the West Coast, visiting Port Lincoln, Ceduna, Yalata and the Yorke Peninsula. Mallee Park export Lindsay Thomas will be among the players, along with Cleveborn Sam Gray. A Whyalla school has made cricket part of its curriculum, running a course on the summer game this year. Teachers say it'll not only benefit the students, but it'll also have an impact on the local cricket scene.
A school subject about cricket? How's that? Samaritan College has knocked its subject offerings for 6 this year, with students having the chance to learn about the game. 18 students, 13 of whom have never played before, are donning the pads.
Ideally, that's 13 more cricketers that we can have playing or being a part of community cricket clubs in Whyalla.
They'll be taught the skills of batting, bowling and fielding. But it's more than just learning good line and length, with students to study the cultural importance of the game, with a focus on the subcontinent.
Do some cultural understanding with them, looking at their Kara cross-curricular links with East Asia and Pacific.
They'll also take part in Cricket Australia coaching and umpiring courses, with local cricket struggling for volunteers. Teachers hope the skills learnt can help keep community cricket going.
We've only got 3 teams in the under-14s and 17s comp in Whyalla, so we're doing whatever we can to make sure that the game stays alive.
It's early on, but students say they've been bowled over by what's on offer.
Yeah, it's been really interesting and just get to a better sense of what it's really like in the real world.
Pretty good, yeah. I changed electives out of art into cricket.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Well, speaking of cricket, it's time for cricket tips.
G'day and welcome to round 11 of Port Augusta cricket. This week we see South Augusta take on West Augusta at EBSA. West just has to win, but unfortunately I can't see them beating South. South are going to be in the finals. West will have to regroup and come back next year, unfortunately. The other match sees Corn take on Central Stirling. This should be a very good match. Corn are coming good at the right time. They started off pretty slow in the year, but they're coming good at the right time. Last year's grand final winners, and I'm going to lean towards Corn in Corn. Bit of an upset there. So there are my 2 winners, Corn and South Augusta.
Round 13 of Port Pirie cricket starts with Wandera taking on Southport at Port Oval on Saturday. Wandera looked too strong for a young Southport team and should take the points in this one. The other match sees Props up against Solly North at Globe Oval. Props are celebrating 50 years this weekend and will be keen to impress those past players who will be in attendance. Solly North have found some late season form on the back of Scott McIntyre, scoring centuries in the last 2 rounds. Props have been the best team all year and should win this one.
Saturday we'll see 3rd versus 4th with South Whyalla versus Rapina. Unfortunately both teams have come off some poor form, but I expect Rapina to redeem themselves this week with a win against Souths. Sunday we'll see the blockbuster clash between North Whyalla and Central Whyalla. Over the last 2 years, Centrals and North have won alternate games throughout the season. At the moment it stands 4-4, with North Whyalla winning the last game. The Sheriff, Scott Collison, is back for the Roosters, and Brad Smith is coming off some tremendous form. North will welcome their new recruit Ryan Parker to the fold, which will make them extra competitive. I'll have to go with the pattern and suggest Central Wyler will win just.
Hello and welcome to this week's Port Lincoln Cricket Tips. First match sees Waybacks and Todd River at Centenary. Waybacks had a loss last week, as did Todd River, but Todd River should be too strong and get over the line in this one. Next game sees Charlton and Tasman's out at Ravendale. Charlton in some good form at the moment, and Tasman's coming off a win last week will be looking to repeat the dose against Charlton. However, with numbers out, Charlton should win this one. And in the final game, Lincoln South travel out to Southern Air. Southern Air top of the table, Lincoln South looking for a spot back in the 4. Southern Air should be too strong and win this one easily. Thank you for listening to Port Lincoln Cricket Tips.
42 degrees forecast for cricket in Broken Hill tomorrow, which means that all games will be reduced to 2020 format. North meet South at the Jubilee Oval. Last time these two sides met, South caused the upset in defeating North, so this could be an interesting game. In current form, one would have to select North, but another upset could be on the cards in this game. Out at the Alma Oval, Central take on West. Central seem to be getting stronger after the Christmas break. The batting seems to be getting stronger. I think they'll have too many runs on the board for the Westies.
Stay with us. After the break, we'll have all the local weather details. And Amy, it was another hot day around the Spencer Gulf.
It was indeed, Fraser, with temperatures remaining quite high around the Spencer Gulf, just in time for the weekend. I'll have all the details next. Welcome back. It was another hot day in Port Augusta, 44 the top there. Whyalla reached 41, while it was a fine day in Port Lincoln, experiencing a milder top of 33. Adelaide crept into the high 30s, while temperatures remained quite high in all other centres. Checking the satellite, and the cloud across southern South Australia isn't bringing any rain, with skies remaining clear across the central and northern parts of the state. If you're planning on cooling off on the waters over the weekend, there will be southerly winds shifting southwesterly up to 25 knots. Seas will reach 1 metre and the sun will pop up at 6:48. Taking a look at conditions for tomorrow, and Port Augusta will see a top of 41, while those in Whyalla can expect 36. Temperatures will hover in the mid-30s in Woodna, while it'll be 41 in Corn. Port Lincoln will remain cooler, just a little bit, 30 the top there. Meanwhile, Broken Hill can expect 42, with temperatures hovering in the mid to high 30s in all other districts. Looking towards next week, and temperatures will drop in Port Lincoln, 28 the top on Tuesday. Cleve will hover in the mid-20s before 30 on Tuesday, while Woodna will see tops of 33 next week. Further up the Gulf, and temperatures will warm up to 31 on Tuesday. Port Augusta will be slightly warmer, reaching 35 next week, while Kadina will creep towards 30. After a warm weekend in Port Pirie, temperatures will reach 33 early next week, while Clare will see a top of 30. Meanwhile, Broken Hill will reach 33. So, Fraser, a mixed bag of temperatures. However, the Spencer Gulf will be mostly sunny and fine as we head into the weekend.
Thanks, Amy. And that's Southern Cross News for the working week. Thanks for your company. We look forward to your company on Monday. Good night.